Despite the records, it's still the Iron Bowl and arguably the best rivalry in college football. Auburn will host Alabama as the Auburn Tigers look to finish over 500 with what would be an enormous rivalry win. We got Vernon Speak Sports on the line to talk up the Auburn Tigers. How's it going tonight?
Oh man, everything is going great. Like I said, always say in the beginning of my videos, in the Deep South, college football is king, and on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Eagle. I want to give a big War Eagle to all the Auburn fans out there, and definitely honored to be on the show with Mark Rogers, the voice of college football, once again. Thank you for having me again tonight.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. So let's look at the big picture. Bryan Harsin came in. Not everyone necessarily was pleased or accepted the hiring because of not knowing a lot about his work at Boise State. So he comes in, and it's been a situation, at least the way I've monitored it from a distance and heard feedback from the fans and media elsewhere. It seems to have been a roller coaster ride in regards to the perception of him and the evaluation of the job that he's doing. The first loss was, of course, at Penn State. That could be evaluated a number of ways. It was obviously a game in which could have gone either way. The team performed well, just didn't get it done at the end, but it was a good performance on the road in a difficult place to play. The LSU game comes to mind in particular, where for 3 quarters the team didn't look good. They come back, they pull off the victory against LSU. They had a couple other wins there in SEC play, most notably Ole Miss, who, of course, is having an outstanding season. So that was to his credit. And once they got to 6-2, which would have brought us to 3 weeks ago, I would think a lot of people would have checked off this is a successful first season for Bryan Harsin. But then they blow a big lead against Mississippi State. They blow this game against South Carolina after leading by 2 touchdowns. And suddenly the critics are back out.
You know, it is really, really unfortunate for Bryan Harsin because he got off to such a promising start for the Auburn Tigers. He's had, even in the Georgia game, had Auburn in position. I never thought that they would beat Georgia, but at the same time, they really, played competitive in that game and had some opportunities in that particular game. And then you sandwich that with the win over Arkansas and Ole Miss. And, you push the envelope to where Auburn is actually in the conversation for a possibility to maybe win the SEC West if they win out. And you go to, Mississippi State, that game, that was probably one of the more disappointing games in Auburn history since the LSU game back in, I think it was 2017, where Auburn was up double digits and wound up succumbing in that game. And that just has led to a really cataclysmic situation that Auburn has now. And now the fan base are like, well, did we make the right decision, or what is going on the plains, or are things falling apart? But a lot of people have to realize this is arguably one of the toughest conferences to play in, because Texas A&M can have that same conversation about, Jimbo Fisher. At certain points of the season, Ole Miss could have had that same conversation.
All right, we got Vernon Speak Sports here talking Auburn Tigers. Check out his YouTube channel with Auburn taking on Alabama coming up Saturday. So Bo Nix is out. TJ Finley's in. He doesn't provide that kind of athleticism and spark running around making plays. What is this offense going to look like this weekend against Bama?
Well, Alabama obviously has one of the more talented defensive teams in all of college football. You talk about Fidelian Mathis, who plays on that defensive end, providing that pressure. And one thing that I've seen about TJ Finley is that he doesn't respond well under pressure. I expect them to crash the ends. I expect them, Alabama, to really, apply that those blitz packages in this particular football game. And one guy that in particular that I'm really weary of on the Alabama side is Will Anderson. They call that position the jack position, and he's done some really good things in that position. And I think he's going to really create some really horrible mismatches with Auburn that's going to put TJ Finley in some adverse positions. Do I think TJ Finley is capable? Yes, I do. But with the offensive line of Auburn not having the athleticism, not having the ability to be consistent in pass blocking, I just think that it's going to put TJ Finley in an adverse position. And I'm afraid that at points he's going to make some bad decisions that really could cost Auburn in this game.
Auburn, Alabama, Iron Bowl coming up on Saturday, of course, and the Auburn Tigers looking to get to 7-5 and even up the conference record at 4-4. They're a 3-touchdown dog on the Plains. If you look across both lines of scrimmage, both sides of the football, what has been the disappointments for you, the areas, the units, the players that you expected to perform better this season?
I really expect the wide receiver position to be a little bit better. Bringing on Demetrius Robertson, Kobe Hudson, I think is a very talented football player, and Shedrick Jackson. And in the SEC, like it or love it, a lot of folks think, okay, if you have 1,000-yard runner, then you're good to go. That's not particularly true these days. Tank Bigsby he's going to get 60 yards, I think, against Alabama and be the first 1,000-yard rusher for Auburn since 2017. But having a runner that can run for 30 times for 215 yards or whatever the case may be is not enough in the SEC. Because if you look at Alabama has Brian Robinson Jr. that has about the same number of carries as Tank Bigsby. However, Alabama has a wide receiver in Jamison Williams, the transfer out of Ohio State, that has 1,200 yards passing. 1,200 yards receiving. And that's almost more than all of Auburn's wide receivers combined. And when you tackle that with the ability to stretch the ball down the field vertically and to score points in a hurried kind of way, I don't give a damn how good your running back is. If you can't throw the football in college football these days, you're just not going to be on that upper tier, that upper echelon of winning teams.
So it's 6-5 right now and a probable 6-6 after a loss to Alabama. That shouldn't be anything that was unexpected. Most prognosticators, myself, I picked Auburn to go 6-6. So I don't know that anyone's should be surprised or disappointed in the effort this season or the results. What is Bryan Harsin saying about where the program stands in the development of this football team?
Bryan Harsin continues to have his points of, week in and week out development, preparing for the next game. We have this 1-0 mentality each week, preparing for the next moment, making sure that you prepare yourself in practice to be a better player, to be a better person than you were, say, before. And, a lot of folks don't get it. But Auburn has had a lot of injuries that no one is really accounting for. Owen Pappoe has been off and on all year. Is not, certain as to whether he's going to play this week. Kobe Hudson, a wide receiver who's really emerged as a threat. He wasn't in this week. And then you have Bo Nix, your starting quarterback, who was out this week. So in the midst of what was going to be a challenging season anyway, then you start to have the injuries that start to, kind of take a toll. And then you start to have, say, in-game decisions that, a lot of folks may not agree with, but it's a part of the game. I think Auburn has done a okay job with managing the season. The team continues to play hard, continue to give themselves an opportunity to win football games. And 6-6 is not exactly what I would have predicted. As a matter of fact, when I did my preseason assessment, I thought Auburn should go 8-4. They were actually on pace. Improbable losses to, Mississippi State and South Carolina derail that. They win those two games, and I'm right on point. But I still don't think this is a point where Auburn fans or any Auburn supporter should call dumpster fire at this point, because I just don't think this program is anywhere near this. This is a program that could go in the right direction.
Yeah, it's a first-year head coach who has proven to be capable elsewhere. I don't know if he's the savior. I don't know if he is ultimately the guy that is going to get it done and win
Right.
championships at Auburn. But I have no reservations about his ability to coach and lead a program that he won't be capable to some degree. I am looking at the recruiting ranking for 2022, which stands at number 12 in the SEC and number 33 overall. So that doesn't tell the whole story either. But at the same time, I got to guess that a lot of Auburn fans aren't necessarily pleased because when you put the record together, people then look at the recruiting class to say, are we going to get better? And when you see number 33 next to Auburn, that doesn't add up.
Well, I mean, really, what a lot of folks don't get is this recruiting class. When you look at the type of players that are going to be on the football field, majority of the time, Auburn could probably be at a higher rating because if you put in a place kicker who is at 81%, that's going to drive down the numerical value of this class. Auburn has several, I mean, many guys who are going to be in present at the Iron Bowl. I think this is going to be a key. I don't think whether Auburn wins the game against Alabama is going to be a deciding factor. I think what folks want to see, I think what guys who are wanting to come to Auburn want to see is, what do I see on the field? Do I see something that, if I'm a part of this program, will it make me a better football player? Will it give me the opportunity to have a chance at going to the next level and playing? And I think that's what Auburn has at this point. And to be fair with you, Mark, I think Auburn from this year, with this particular year, they have shown that a different brand of football, a more formidable brand of football, to where a recruit can say, okay, they might have lost the game, but what I saw on the field actually kind of halfway made sense.
So it's a daunting task against Alabama. It's a rivalry game, of course, one of the very best. But Alabama has the extra incentive of needing to win to continue on to a college football playoff appearance. So, what is the formula for an Auburn upset?
I think Auburn has to run the football. Of course, they have to establish the line of scrimmage, which is going to be a task because I think Alabama has one of the more talented rosters in all of college football. I also think that, hopefully Auburn will have Kobe Hudson back and, at wide receiver to be able to push the ball vertically down the football field to establish some type of, confidence for TJ Finley. And also, to be fair with you, I think Auburn's got to have that Auburn magic that they have when Alabama comes into town and, really crazy things happen down there to where you can neutralize, Alabama's talent. Obviously, I think Alabama is one of the more talented teams in all of college football and should win the game against Auburn. But with the Iron Bowl, you just never know. Auburn has definitely has to find ways to keep themselves in the football game. You don't have Bo Nix. You don't have your place kicker, who is normally pretty reliable. So it's going to be even more important to sustain drives. And what Auburn has not been able to do is finish drives in the red zone. If they can get some red zone scoring going on, control the clock. Alabama has shown some vulnerability. Not lost, but came within 7 with LSU, who is not a good football team. Lost to Texas A&M on the road by 3, and just this past week was really close to, squandering that game at Arkansas. So this is not an Alabama team that can't be beat. They're talented nonetheless, but it's not an Alabama team that can't be beat.
Vernon Speaks Sports right here on YouTube. Check it out, Auburn, Alabama. We appreciate you stopping by as always. Good to see you, and enjoy the game.
Yes, sir. And I really appreciate it, Mark. Appreciate you having me on. And for all the Auburn fans out there, I know things are not looking the way you want it to look. But as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.